Welcome to today's broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Make sure to say hi in the chat there. Let us know where you're joining us from. I'm Dale here in Black Forest, Colorado, outside of Colorado Springs, and joining me today to talk about database and rocket fueling your database is James and Venous, coming to us from the Nellis Group. Say hi, James and Venous.
Hey,
hello.
How we doing? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited. I'm excited to talk to you guys because I've briefly talked with you, but there's so much more that I'm really excited about learning. I know Jacob on our team is also on the webinar with us today, but he's here to help answer questions and make sure everything's running. So you'll see his camera off for the duration here. And please, everybody, ask your questions. Let's make this interactive. It'll be so much more fun and valuable if we all chime in. So without further ado, I would love to get into the content here as quickly as we possibly can. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you guys have control now to share slides. But
Okay,
first, so James, tell us the little 15-second intro on you and your team and what you guys are doing there.
Sure. Well, I'm sure everybody logged in to hear us talk about ourselves for the next hour. I'm sure that's the only reason they logged in. So we'll make that brief. We're a boutique company here in the DMV, of motor vehicles. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So we cover the entire DMV. And gosh, we've been doing it for over 37 years. So we're pretty proud about that. It's a family business. And we're going to talk today about bringing in the right people within your sphere, and that's why Venous is here. And we're going to attack this in a two-step format where you really talk about rocket fuel and what this looks like. Rocket Fuel is a book that if you haven't heard of it before, you need to do it. You need to read it. This is a little bit of a we call it a humble brag sheet, just for you guys to know. You're about to listen to us. Should you spend the time to do it? Yes, here's why. Over 35 years in the business, we've actually helped over 4,300 families here in the DMV. One of the things I have to tell you that we're most excited about is the number at the bottom. The 2.5 million that we've donated to local charities. If you're a real estate agent or a company of anything right now, you need to start tracking this yesterday, because consumers will align with you, not because you're a real estate company. They will align with you because of your approach in business, as long as it benefits the local community. So you have to start tracking that starting yesterday. And then, of course, you can see over 80% of our business comes from referrals, and that's really important. And we're going to show you some of those tools and resources and how to do it through Realvolve today. So get excited. Get ready to start taking notes. Yes, they are recording this. Dale, I'm assuming they can get a copy of this. Is that right? How does it work on your side?
Yeah, we'll send them a copy as soon as this is processed.
So we mentioned we're a family business. I like to show you that. It's also like to say this because I had hair back in. So I like to show that as well. At one point I did have hair. You can see on the top left is my mother, who started our business, my mother and father in the middle, and then our family there. And you can see the larger scope of the Nellis Group today with our agents and our staff and admin and ISAs, and everyone works together. And when you grow bigger, even when you're a solo practitioner, if you look at that and go, well, that's great, I'm just a one-person show. Well, you are more than the one person. And we're going to show you how to leverage Realvolve, whether you're one person or 100. It's, I don't know, Dale, even what the biggest is. Maybe they have a company with 1,000. We don't have 1,000, Venous, and I don't want 1,000. But we're going to show you how do you leverage this at a high level. Venous, why don't you share with them about our zones? I think this is important when you're conveying to your consumers today, like what you cover.
Yeah, so it's really important for us to find the actual specialists in an area. So when it comes to our agents, everyone has zones that they cover, and these are really where they live, where they've grown up, where they specialize. And so when we have a client that lets us know an area they want to live in, we're really choosing the agent that is the best fit for them, that has the most experience, that knows, you know, all of the great restaurants to go to, that knows about everything about the schools and where they want to focus their business. Also, when we hire new agents, we let them know that it's really their decision of where their zones are and where they want to grow their business. And that allows them to really cover an immense area in our local DMV.
Yeah, and we start leveraging Realvolve right away, because when we have new listings, they have to go see them. Well, in COVID world, they virtually could go see them through the 3D tours. And so that becomes a Realvolve task for each of the agents that they have to check off, they have to do. Otherwise, they will actually won't get leads with our company. Just remember, and I'm not your attorney, I'm not your accountant, but if you have agents working for you, they're 1099s. So you're limited in what you can force them to do or not do. So let's talk about this book. And we stole the name pridefully. We stole the name right off the book, Rocket Fuel. If you haven't read the book, you should. Short answer to this book is there's a visionary and there's an integrator, and there needs to be one. For many businesses, it's one and the same. If you're listening to this and thinking, well, I'm listening to this because I need a new CRM because I'm always spinning, you're always spinning because you're probably acting as both a visionary and an integrator. The best thing you can do is hire someone that can help you integrate. The reason that Venus is here is she's someone that I hired to help integrate, because I would come up with these great ideas, and what would happen, Venus?
None of them would get done. Or, I think anytime, and I know a lot of agents do this, you go to different events, you go to webinars, you learn something, you get super excited, and you bring it back to your team. And your team usually panics because they have no idea how to actually execute this brilliant idea you heard from someone across the country. And so it really is important to be able to logistically figure out how to create these great ideas.
And I'd love to sit here and tell you that since we've been in business for 37 years, every single workflow, everything is perfect, and we've never had to tweak it. What I can tell you is even last week, we were changing one of the workflows within Realvolve. So understand that real estate and business and how you run your systems is ever evolving, and it should be. As Venus hires people, the first question we always ask is, once you learn our system, your job is to perfect the system. Your job is to change the workflow, make it make sense, not only to you, but for our clients. And so we're going to walk through these 4 things. The guys at Realvolve will pinned us down. They said, you got to tell us what you're going to actually talk about, which is tough for a real estate agent on ADD, right? So we're going to talk about 5 automated workflows. We're going to actually show you, peel back the curtain and show you some of those workflows. We're going to talk about the 3 key strategies for referrals. How do you add 500 to your database? One simple way to increase your business from last year, you have to add people. It's a simple numbers count, right? It's a numbers game. And then tag 200 for your success. And we're going to dive into that because the challenge I've seen with most businesses is they forget the people they need to remember. And we're going to show you what that looks like. So CRM's required. I wish I had the photo, Dale. It was hilarious. I drove to one of our buildings and I looked over, and literally there were over 100 Post-it notes throughout the entire, it was a Jeep. I still remember it's a Jeep Cherokee. And they had Post-it notes everywhere, on the dashboard, on the steering wheel, on the column. Like, I couldn't believe it. What do you do beyond Post-it notes? You're not going to remember it. There's some different apps. Todoist. I actually use Todoist. It's a great app, but it's not as good as Realvolve. Excel is fantastic. At some point, you'll grow big enough that Excel doesn't work. So you're going to have to figure out what coincides with my brand and the way that I want to market, and more importantly, the way I want to reach out and convey that trust with the consumers. And that's where it comes in. So if you're thinking about Realvolve and you don't have it, go to realvolve.com/success. You can go right there. Beyond that, my understanding is if you go there and register, some of these workflows that we're going to give you for free. You sign up with them, you're just going to have them, and we'll give Dale permission for that, and Jacob, that they can forward that to you once you're there. If you're already a Realvolve customer, at some point you're going to be like, this is like those bank commercials where only new people get it. Here's what I'll tell you. If you're already a customer, reach out to them. We'll share it with you as well. More importantly, you may have a workflow we don't have yet that we want to implement. Okay, so let's get into this. What does it look like for these 5 automated workflows? Listing launch. This is important. So many things are not done right because you don't have the right system for launch. Contract to close, of course, for sellers, for buyers. 100th home for charity. That might be something new you haven't heard before. And then online contests. We get asked all the time, what are things we do to stay in continual contact with our top 200, with our top clients? You have to perfect some type of online contest and forms, and you can do that through Realvolve. So I will say that we talked about visionary and integrator. I know what I want, and I know when I see that it's not done right. But what I'm not typically going to do is sit down there and come up with 65 action items that has to be done for every single listing. So Venus actually helped put a lot of these together, as well as Sherry with our company. And it's been tweaked, like I said, even last week. Venus, the 65.
So 65 is the latest number. I actually added a to-do today into one of our workflows. You really need to be touching your workflows about every 6 months because business changes. Everything changes. People you hire change. You know, what you did last year for advertising is not going to work this year. And we definitely learned that in COVID, right? Door knocking wasn't a thing anymore. So that couldn't be a to-do for you. And so really having these abilities to not only give multiple people activities to do, but make sure we have the information going out. That's really what these workflows are for. And James will definitely say he does not want to sit down to do the 65, but he will definitely tell you if there's one missing in the 65. So there's also, you know, that initial, hey, we got to get on the phone and say, all right, you want this to go out. When does it need to go out? All right, well, I want it 3 days after this launches. Great. Now I can go add it into the workflow.
Yeah. And you can't afford for your consumer to ask you. The worst place you could ever be is, you know, we had one recently. We were very fortunate. We sold a property in a community and the neighbor was referred to us. And then we had to go sell their property and we did both successfully. The challenge would have been if there was a different service or a different pattern or a different rhythm with that second person, because they would have said, well, why didn't you do this? And so got this. So you got to have a CRM that supports every single step of the process. So an example I pulled out here was our seller enhancement and our Zillow video. So part of showing you our workflows, I want to give you things you may not even be doing for your own business. So you could choose to not even go with Realvolve. I know they hate for me to say that, not even go with them and get things out of this webinar. So seller enhancement, we actually give our sellers homework, which is crazy. We were sitting with a $1.5 million home earlier this week and we're like, great, this is what you're going to have to do. They're like, what? Nobody else is making us do stuff. Yeah, you're going to have to do it because what we know is this: buyers buy based on emotion and justify with logic and data. And there's certain compelling things that are online and in print media that you have to have today. Beyond that is the Zillow video. Yes, some of you are saying, oh, I hate Zillow. It doesn't matter. Consumer loves Zillow. It's what it is. And so we still pay the lowest amount, but we still pay to be a premier on Zillow. But that's one of our Realvolve tasks, to come back and say, is it on Zillow video? By the way, we have noticed that our videos have fallen off. So now the Realvolve task for our marketing team is every 3 days, they go back to make sure active listing, is the Zillow video still there? If you don't have that as a task in your CRM, you will forget about it. You will start spinning and that property's now been on for 3 weeks. The seller calls you and says, where's my Zillow video? And unfortunately for most practitioners, probably the last time you checked it was what? When it went live, right? So you have to have those follow-up systems. Venus, what about design dates? What can you get in trouble with that one if you don't have the right design dates?
Well, yeah, you know, that definitely is not only figuring out when the design date is if you're going to be going live and they're going to be staging, you have to figure out all of these dates and times and not only match the schedule for the sellers of the home, but also the listing agent. You're not the one that's going to be there, the listing agent is. So it's not only figure out when the design date is, make sure that it works for the client, and then create a calendar invite, not only for the client, but also the designer and the listing agent. Why? Because the designer doesn't work for us and sometimes they're late. And so we now have a to-do that the morning of, we send a bright and shiny text message to everyone. Hey, just want to confirm that we're going to be there at 12 o'clock today for your design report.
Yeah, this is super important.
So,
especially if you're a
James, real quick, do you mind if I
you need to make your
if I take control real
part of your Realvolve workflow? It's got to happen. An example is title search. So for every property, and remember, DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia is where we cover. In Virginia, for every listing we put on the market, before we ever go live, we have an advanced title search done by the title company for free. Okay. DC and Maryland, we can't get it for free. So guess what we don't do? We don't do it in advance. But is that in your workflow, right? Have you followed up with that? Are you doing that at a high level? So now we went from launching to we're under contract, right? You're ratified, you're pending. Do you have the right action steps when that happens? Right now we have 52. We'll probably look at it next week and have 54. It doesn't matter what the number is. You have to know what it is for you and make sure you're checking all the boxes. So an example of this is proof of deposit, right? Dale's giving me a high five. I know he has a question. He's just giving me a high five. Proof of deposit is, in the DMV, the buyer has 5 days to post that deposit. Was it done? That should be part of your checklist. One other thing before we let Dale jump in, appraisal package. Do you have one? Probably not, because to my understanding, we created this concept. So we have a licensed appraiser on our team and a pricing specialist. You can hire that out. You can find someone to do it for you. As soon as we get ratified, whatever those terms are, we actually take that ratified contract, send it to the licensed appraiser or pricing specialist and say, make this number work. This is really important when you have offers going 30, 50, 100,000 over list to give you the best chance. You know, they say the main two reasons that a home falls out of under contract. I know some of you, especially if you're new, if you've been selling for like 1 year, you're like, no, I just an order taker. I just, rubber stamp it. The market will change. And when the market gets tougher, you better have a solution for the top two reasons a contract falls out: home inspection items and appraisals that come in low. Dale.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. These are fantastic workflows. I love everything that's going on here with all of your workflows and how organized they are and all these little steps that you have in there. If you don't mind, I want to take 60 seconds and just explain workflows for those that aren't familiar with what we're doing. Let me see if I can. Do you mind stopping your share real quick? I want to share a couple of slides.
For sure.
Sorry to interrupt you there because you guys are on a roll, but this will just take maybe 60 seconds here. So, Realvolve is a CRM because James and Venous are talking so much about Realvolve. We're a CRM and a workflow platform, and we separate those two things. We have all of the traditional core functionality of a customer relationship management database. So you can store all of your leads in there, store all of your database. But the unique thing about the way we run our CRM is that it's not just lead management, which is what most CRMs in our industry do. Most CRMs are just lead management. Once they become a client, there's not a lot that the CRM can help you with. And that's totally different with Realvolve. We actually cover the lead, current client, past client stages, all of the above. And then really a lot of what James and Venous are talking about right now is all of the workflows that help you with like the contract to close stages of your database, elevating your customer service. And we're the best at that because of our 4D automation platform. So you can have, in pretty much any lead management or CRM, you can schedule campaigns that are based on time delays and specific dates. But in Realvolve, we've added some dimensions. So you can do time delays, specific dates, decision points, and activities getting done. All of those combined together. And we can also then marry everybody involved with a transaction or with a certain stage of the customer lifecycle for you and your business. So that could be a transaction coordinator, the agent, the other agent on the other end of the transaction, all of the other contractors and professionals that you're working with, the loan officers, inspectors, stagers, like we were just talking about there in the design step. So there's so many amazing automations that you can build and use in Realvolve. We have a library, and that's what James was talking about earlier. We have a library of these workflows that are all configured and thought through that you can download, you can edit them, you can make them your own, you can tweak them. And that's the real power of what we're talking about here. So sorry for the sidetrack there, but I just want to make sure everybody understands workflows as a new concept.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. And you can get, anytime you've been in a product for as long as we have with Realvolve, you just, you think it's common knowledge. So thanks for stepping in and explaining that. Because if you've never really used a CRM at a high level, you may not have thought, well, these are the different things I can do with it. One power that I love with Realvolve is being able to tag people for it. We've had situations where someone's left our team or where we brought in somebody new and we're able to say, great, we're going to now tag all of these workflows or this, and this to so-and-so. So it automatically showing up. There's no question. Here's what's fun about it. There's no question about what should they do that day because they wake up, they come to the office, and guess what? There's 10 items. There's 30 items. I don't know, what was it? One day there was like 150 items for somebody?
120.
120.
Yes. So I think the other part of that is also realtors in general do not keep normal hours. And so the second half of having these workflows and the ability to complete a task is that James decides at 1 a.m. he wants to know if something was done. Well, he doesn't have to call anyone or send a text message. He can go into Realvolve, into the completed tasks, and see who completed the task and when. And so it really allows you to have communication on such a high level when you don't have the time to make a call or text someone, right? Sometimes you want to know, did this get ordered? Has this been done? And someone may be in a meeting and they can't get a hold of you, right? And so this allows us to have that. And from a logistical standpoint of just managing, I can go into my Realvolve app wherever I am and pull up the calendar and pull up any associate and any person on my staff and see what do they have to do today. And if I want to add a task, I can just add it into Realvolve, right? Sometimes the integrators also work in hours that nobody else is. So if I decide, oh, you know what, I really think it's a good idea to do a reminder, I can just add those tasks into Realvolve. And I think James brought up a good point that when you get into something, you just think it's common knowledge. I've been talking to a lot of agents as I've been hiring for them, and I wasn't really pushing Realvolve because I thought everybody could do these things. And so when I would create a new hire and I would hire that first EA for a solo agent, I would talk about workflows and I would talk about tasks. And I would just assume that the CRM that they had could do them. And it was a very rude awakening when I was very clearly explained that nope, they don't do any of these things. So
yeah, so it is interesting because everyone's business is different, and that's what I love is that you can use the libraries that are there, and you might go into one and you see 85 action points, and you might be like, I need 5. Well, even if you only need 5, if you're working with 10 different clients, that's 50. You're gonna forget, and that's the great part of this is, too much time for many of you visionaries, your time is spent thinking, I can't forget X. I can't forget to do X, where you could have spent that same time focused on lead generation. And that's what we want to do is take away the worry from the process of buying, selling, and working with investors at a high level. You got to remember, if it's staged, did you take out the furniture, right? I have to admit, there's been, when we weren't using the workflows at the highest level, there's been more than one property where the agent called me on the day of closing and said, hey, James, when are they taking out the furniture? The what? Yeah, the staged furniture. They haven't taken it out yet? We're looking at it right now and we close in an hour. Great. Then it's a 9/11 and all of that. If it's a workflow, you're not going to have the 9/11. More importantly, the sold post, a lot of you are good with just listed. Today, just sold is better than just listed, right? And so you always want to make sure that your marketing flows with the workflows you create and everything else that you're doing. And then, of course, buyers, right? I was talking to an agent and they're like, I know their buyers have fatigue. I've got realtor fatigue. I'm tired of working with buyers. Has anybody had that problem? It's been brutal, right? When competing. But for a buyer contract to close, once they're ratified, there's 37 action items. Now, at some point, you might be thinking, well, they're just making up numbers now, right? But if you think through it, there are that. If you think through, here's one fun thing that you can do. If you're having trouble establishing value to and with your consumers, and they're like, you know what, any agent can do it. Why should I pay you X, or why should you demand this? It'd be fun for you to be able to show them the workflows. Did you know that there's 72 steps from under contract to closing? Did you know XYZ? You have to know your own numbers, right? So that you can help them with that. One thing that we have as a workflow that's super important. Let's pretend we don't have to pretend in today's market. Let's say you had to compete and there were 4 offers and you're one of 4 and you win. Congratulations. Did you go back and in your file, did you go back and get that other contract that escalated you up to X? You better have that in your file, and you better have a way to remember to do that. That's another way that we use Realvolve is for the CYA, right? To cover yourself and what that looks like. And then, of course, the deposit, I made mention of that before. You can see here, even though statewide it's 5 days, we put in 3 days because we don't want to get to the 5th day and realize it hasn't been done by the client. Even scheduling, settlement, and utilities, right? Anything and everything can be part of these workflows that you're going to have to put in. So we encourage you, obviously sign up realvolve.com/success. But beyond that, just take out a piece of paper right now and start writing down your items. What you'll probably find is even as a solo practitioner, one transaction, you're probably at a minimum going to have 20 plus action steps.
And I
Right.
think one of the best things about Realvolve is, yes, if you're super organized and you put all of those dates into your calendar and you write them in, dates change.
Mm-hmm.
Inspections get pushed back, right? The stager can't come on the day they said they would. The floor didn't get done in time, and now they're going to go live a week later.
Right.
So now you're going to go back into your calendar and have to move all 27 of those to-dos to accommodate the new date, right? Whereas in Realvolve, I change one date. I go into my Realvolve, I change the date of the MLS target, and all 27 activities automatically are adjusted. You multiply that by how many transactions you do annually, and that's a lot of time that's been sent.
Yeah. The other thing is to think about snooze. Here's your problem with calendars. Okay, let me say it's my problem, not your problem. If it's in my calendar and I snooze it or I delete it, I don't come back to it. Like, I don't remember that there were 3 things in my calendar that I didn't take care of. They just don't get done. And so that's the value of what Venus was saying is, yeah, it's great if you want to put it in your calendar, but if you hit snooze or you forget to come back to it, guess what? It's gone. And that's what we love about Realvolve is I do have to say this. Not everyone you hire is perfect, right? We had one person we're no longer in real estate. They say no longer in business with. That's another way of just saying it didn't work out, right? And no longer in business with. We found out that the person was checking off items in Realvolve that weren't done. They had never been done. So what I can tell you is that Realvolve is not a mind reader. If you check it off and it wasn't done, like, you can't help that. So just be aware of how that works and use it as a way to follow up, right? 100th home and charity is something fun. We actually got this from another top agent in Michigan. On every 100 homes that we sell, we give away everything to charity, the entire commission. Short version of this is when I first brought this to our company, it was quiet. And we do a lot with charity. I said, and on the 100th home, everything goes to charity. And it sounded just like that. Did you hear that noise? That's what it sounded like. So then I was like, oh, they didn't understand. No, guys, on the 100th home and the 200th home, we give away the entire commission to charity. That was a noise again. And then it clicked. And then I finally realized. And I said, oh, wait a second. If you are the agent that sells that 100th home, I'll still make you whole and give everything to charity. Oh, everybody's clapping. Oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Which is fine. I totally get it. But it was hilarious because I was a disconnect in my own mind. I was like, why are they not excited about this? Well, because they were worried about being the 100th, right? But here's what's fun. You can leverage Realvolve to go in with an event like this. You can have them register. And as they register, you can have that go into your Realvolve. Like, this is really going to take a lot of the pressure of extra work away from you. You can see here, we use it as a Google, and I'm sure Dale has some slides. He can talk about Zapier and all these other things to workflow around and to work with. Keep in mind this, if you think about doing this, let's say you sell 50 homes a year and you might say, well, I can't do that program because I only sell 50. You can do it the 25th, the 35th. You can choose to be charitable in any way at any time that you want. Voting. Make sure if you do this, that the voting is on your website, nellisgroup.com/vote. There's no reason to send them somewhere else for the voting. And then one other thing just to keep in mind, and, maybe, next time we come back with Realvolve, maybe we'll talk about social media and posts and things of how we do that. But for right now, Facebook Live, make sure you're taking advantage of it. It's part of our workflow that on the 100th home for charity, we do a Facebook Live for it, right? It sounds simple, but if you don't have it, you might forget. You might forget to do that and gain further traction online. So as we're talking about online, let's talk about online contests. We typically do an online contest every month. Sometimes we won't do an online contest if we have an in-person event. So especially during COVID, we were doing multiple ones. Here's what's fun about that. Have you ever wondered how old is an email? How old is a phone number? With online contests, your consumers weekly or monthly are giving you their newest and best information every time. And that's what I love about it. You can capture their new info right away. And we do it monthly. An example was we did a scavenger hunt here in DC. Cherry blossoms are a big deal. If you didn't know that, around the Tidal Basin in DC. And this year they did something fun where it was they commissioned 25 different artists for 26 different chairs all throughout the DMV. Venus, I think, gets the credit. Didn't you go to all of them?
Yes, me and my niece during spring break for her, we went to go see all of them. So it was truly a scavenger hunt and it was awesome.
Yeah, so she's the integrator. So as a visionary, I checked the box. Like I went and saw all of them. It was fantastic. It worked out for everybody. I did go and personally see at least 3 of them. So let's talk about 3, the number 3. 3 key strategies to increasing your referrals. What does that look like? That might have been the buzz term that got you to log into this, and you're like, finally, they're there. All right, 3 keys. What do you need to think about? So business cards, community mailers, name tags. If you've been selling in real estate for at any time, someone's told you that these were one of the 3 keys. I don't think so. Okay. So there you go. I would keep your business cards at home. Name tags. I mean, if you got one referral at a grocery store, fantastic. You had your name tag on. Okay. Community mailers. Those do work. Direct mail is 2% return. So if you want to stay focused on a 2% return, keep going after those mailers. At some point, Dale's going to be like, shouldn't this be a positive webinar? So let me show you what does work. I'm going to give you, we're going to peel back the curtain. This is a script that we use to go from really 65% to over 80% of business from referrals. When I was young in the business, I had a client who said, James, can I have cards? I gave him 50 business cards and I was so excited. And this is the reason, by the way, I'm telling the story, why this is up. You can take a photo of this. You don't have to wait for the slide deck. So you can memorize this while I'm telling the story. So he gave me the 50 card. I gave him the 50 cards. He, within 2 weeks, came back to me. It was great. Within 2 weeks, he's like, James, I need more cards. I was like, for what? He goes, I gave out all your cards. He's like, how many people reached out to you? 0. 0 people reached out to me. So that's when I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I've been to all kinds of training, been to all kinds of convention. I've never heard a good, by the way, don't be upset with the term script. Anything you say more than one time is a script. It's just whether it's good or not. Right? If you said the same thing to 2 different buyers, that is your script. So let's take a look at this script. And I think it's important for you to master this. We call it the trust value permission script. You can see that's bolded already. Here's how it would be delivered. Thank you for the trust you have shown in our company over the years and recognizing the unique value that we bring in real estate. In the future, when someone asks about real estate, we would love for you to connect us. Simply ask for their permission and copy us on a text or email with them. I mean, it's been hilarious to see some of the texts and emails I get with clients, but here's the fun part. If they give a business card, you're never going to hear from them. And they may actually, tell you, hey, so-and-so may call you because I gave them your information. Still is not going to work. But when we started inserting the last part of that, ask them for permission to copy us on a text or email. I know this sounds like semantics and very simple, but I can tell you that this alone will get you at least 10 more transactions this next year. If you deliver this script at a high level to your top 200, that will get you the business. So as we're thinking about referrals, what does it look like? Social media. Got to be plugged into the social media network. I actually just got a phone call back right before this webinar. It was posted on Young Professional Network about someone moving to Fredericksburg, Virginia. I texted, responded. She literally called while we've been on this webinar. Yes, that will be my first call when I get off here. So social media, is that part of your Realvolve task? When are you going into social media? Is that once a day? Is that once a week? What is it? Out of area education. You should be putting that into your calendar of if you know the top 3 areas that transfer to your area. For instance, for us, San Diego, California. And it's beautiful, by the way, 260 days out of the year. If I moved anywhere, I'd move to San Diego. So if I'm looking at out of area education, I'm going to go there. Why? Because the Navy bases. Well, if you know DMV, you know that we live right here next to the Pentagon. Video text is huge. And this is for conversion of all types. When you're talking about referrals and everything else, the best thing you can do is a handwritten note, right, to your client that just gave you a referral. And I would say, in addition to that, you should be doing a video text to them, thanking them for keeping you in mind. For, hey, thanks so much for connecting me with Joe and asking for their permission to do a video or to do a text. And now that we're connected. So be thinking about those things. Now let's talk about the database. This is where many of you that have ADD start to slow down and go, oh, God, we're going to have to input into a database. So take a look at these. I'm not getting paid for this webinar, so I can say this. I stole this online. I thought this was a really cool chart. Dale, you're going to have to make this chart for us for next time so I don't have to steal it. But this is what it looks like, right? It's really cool. So you take that consumer from awareness to consideration of using your company to purchasing, selling, buying, whatever it is, to the retention. How do they stay with you? They're only going to stay with you if you have a CRM that reminds you to what? To reach out to them, right? How many times have you been sitting in a convention and they're like, call your clients, 4 times a year. And you're thinking, oh man, I hadn't talked to that guy since 2002, right? I know it. I've been there too. Advocacy. And this is the big thing. And this is where workflows can help you, no matter what your CRM is, to go from retention. They want to keep using you to go to advocacy. You're an ambassador for you. They're using your hashtags. They're sending people back to you. They're asking for that permission of what that looks like. So Venus, what are some ways that we've attracted local businesses and charities for alignment with the Nellis Group?
So for us, we love to highlight our local businesses. So we are very, very lucky that we have a lot of clients that, have local businesses that they are either part of or they frequent themselves. And so we really reach out to those businesses and say, hey, listen, we'd like to highlight you. And so we go down, we highlight them, and it gives us a kind of two-prong approach. One, we share their business on our website. However, they also share us on theirs. So that immediately gives us a broader scope of people that we just haven't been able to reach yet. Similarly with the charities, we do the exact same thing, especially during our 100th home. We love to highlight the charities that are part of that campaign.
What's amazing is you have the opportunity to share databases, to share a link where their entire database will go to your website or get introduced to you. That's one of the fastest ways you can grow to the extra 500 in your database, is by leveraging local business owners who already have a huge database and local charities who have a huge donor base. Right? So be thinking outside of the box. Here's inside the box. What are things you personally can do, even if you're a solo practitioner? One, meetup.com. When we hire someone, we used to say that they had to join 3 meetup groups based on their hobbies. If you don't know what meetup.com is, it's the only social media where the pure intent is to meet face to face. Whenever you meet somebody for the first time, there's 2 questions that always happen. First, what's your name? Second, always,
What do you do?
What do you do? Right? And so if that's always the second question, you can't think of a better. Now, I love to, well, I don't, but let's say pretend I love to play soccer. Guess what? I say that because someone in our studio has a soccer shirt on. So if everybody else loves to play soccer, then it's a great opportunity for you, right? I love volleyball. I can tell you that I've been able to serve over 30 clients in the last couple of years purely because of my love for volleyball. So calling all vendors, that vendor reciprocity. I want you to think back on this. The main lender that you use, the main title company that you use, the main contractor that you use for your listings, how many referrals have you gotten from them in the last 365 days? Most of you are not tracking it. The other thing you need to track, and you can do this in Realvolve because you can tag people, is did you track how many you gave them? So our running game is about 3-to-1 or even a 5-to-1 relationship. So if we give 15 buyers to a lender, we're expecting at least 3 to 5 referrals. You can't do that if you're not tracking it. By the way, we do a quarterly review with each of those vendors. You only have to do a review twice till they feel awkward and start sending you business. So think about that. Open houses. We've started using QR codes for people to sign in through the open house. I love it. I love that restaurants brought this back. Back in the early 2000s, QR codes were the thing, and then they died a fast death. Nobody even talked about it. That's how bad they died. Restaurants brought them back during COVID, and I love that because it's saving us hundreds of dollars every month on printing brochures. We used to have 25 brochures every house. We don't print them anymore. We print 3 pages. They go in a laminated or they go in a stand, and that's it, right? Rotary Club, BNI, many of you have probably joined one over the years, Business Network International. It's positive peer pressure among vendors to send business back and forth. And then I put a list of the charities. I wanted to make sure you have alignment with the charities that you already serve. I'm sure many of you have already spent time, money, and resources with 1 to 3 charities this year. Do your consumers know that? Are you proactive in doing that? Have you shared your database with them? Have they shared your database with you? Right? Be thinking through that. So I'll actually let Venus walk you through this. And this is more general education for yourself because we wanted, outside of the workflow, we wanted to make sure that you're seeing a higher level of yourself and the consumers see you a different way. So can you walk them through what this looks like?
Yeah, and this is really how your friends, family, consumers view you. So when you first become that realtor, they really are looking at you as just the role. You're a realtor. That's how they view you. When you've been in the business for a while and now you've definitely gained experience, now they really believe that you care and you have concern for what their needs are. As they see you continuing in the business, they now are going to change their view and you have become an expert in your field. once the experts believe you're an expert, now you can coach others and teach them. And ideally, you want to become a dream manager. You want people that think about real estate in any way, shape, or form to come to you to be able to say, hey, James, hey, Venus, I think I want some kind of a future in my wealth, in my career, in my business to be tied to real estate. And I'd like you to help me get there.
Yeah, and we want to, and I can tell you this, a CRM done well that's focused on retention and advocacy will help you get to this dream manager and the way they see you. One example that we did, especially during COVID and even before that, we do online seminars. And you don't have to know everything. You can literally reach out to an attorney. You can reach out to an insurance person and say, hey, we want to do this. Here's an example of an estate seminar. Oh, man, I love this guy. He's a great attorney. It was rough. It was rough. But remember, same thing if you got your accountant on there, there's certain people that should present and not present, right? So just keep that in mind. But I can tell you this, we did this seminar. It cost us no money. The attorney did it for free, obviously hoping to get business from it. And I had at least 5 clients reach out to me, thanking me for it, reaching out to him and saying, I can't believe I didn't have a trust, or I didn't have a will, or I didn't have this already set up. So beyond real estate, think of what you can deliver at a high level and what that looks like. We've done one on insurance, and I had 3 clients reach out to me and say, James, I just halved my insurance bill, right? These are the fun things. Here's the thing. If you're creating that, you are creating an advocate, and you can do this through your vendors. You don't have to know all the information. You can bring them in. For instance, typically twice a year, we will bring in a different local market that's outside of the DMV where you get the 1% rule on investment, and we'll bring them in and they'll be our investor expert, and they'll talk through our clients of, hey, you could buy a home for $100,000 or a minute for $1,000 a month. By the way, you cannot do that in DC. So be thinking about who could you do. And you know what? Right now, go ahead and write down 2 vendors that you could do a webinar with online today. What does that look like? You could put it out there in July or August and have your clients raising their hand saying, hey, I want to attend this. I want to be a part of this. For now, you could do it in person or even make it an event, both in person and online. With our VIP, we talked about tagging your top 200. Dale, I don't think it's worth it to split screens and share how you do that, but can you just talk about what the functionality on tagging is within Realvolve?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are so many different things that people do with tags, but the basic functionality is that you can add a tag in Realvolve, and you can then attach that to contacts, properties, transactions. And so the contact tagging is really cool because you can stack tags. So you can have multiple tags on one contact, where they were, what their interests are, what year they purchased a home with you. All of these things can be added. And that way you can then filter your entire database of past clients, current clients by the tags. And then again, you can stack filters. So it's really cool because I can say, I want to see everybody that I did business with last year that lives in, X geography, and Realvolve will spit out a list really quickly using those tags. It's really simple, really easy to do, and allows you to stay very organized, prioritizing your top clients by geography, by year, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that's what you want, right? And so for instance, for me, we have not only top 200, we have top 100. And so one of our tags is top 100 James. Guess what? All of our agents have the same thing, because we knew at a minimum, we wanted to be realistic. We wanted to know they probably wouldn't be reaching out because this lead to 200 people. So we took a step back and said top 100. I actually know an agent, Todd Buckley in Michigan. He does top 50. So it doesn't matter whatever your top number is, but we want you to stay focused on them. And I love the tagging functionality. So I don't have to think about who should I call next, or who should I invite to a baseball game or a basketball game or something like that. I can go in there and I can do multiple layers. So for instance, for me, I would go in there and I would use the tag VIP. It's actually NG, Nellis Group, NG VIP. And then I would do top 100. And then I could see all of our clients that have registered as a VIP and have also been in my top 100. So think about how you can use that to stack for success. We wanted to give you some other things. When we talk about the cycle of follow-up, this is very important, and you can leverage Realvolve for this, your CRM, Birthdays, right? Absolutely. Put every client's birthday in it. When we have them sign up for contests online, sometimes we ask them for their birthdays. Home anniversary. This is hugely important. This is the only date that you yourself control. No one else has this. No title company is going to call them for their home anniversary. You alone control this. In an ideal world, if you've sold over 1,000 homes and you're listening to this, you should probably have at least 3 to 5 calls a day with a home anniversary during the work week, right? This is their 10th anniversary. This is their 20th anniversary, whatever it is. Contests and registrations. We've already talked about that. Let me give you one simple tool, the wealth portfolio. This is huge. There's an agent in Denver, Colorado. She does no client events. She does no mailouts. She does one simple thing every year, and she sells, I believe, over 100 homes a year. This is all she does. She calls all of her database, right? What we were just talking about. She calls all of her database and simply says, would you like an update for your wealth portfolio on your real estate asset? Great. Let's meet at the coffee shop, blah, blah, blah. That's all she does. She stacks anywhere from 4 to 10 meetings a week just off of that, paying no money, right? We should do more of that. So think about that. I always love, when Venus and I are together and she hears me speak, she's like, well, why aren't we doing that? Right. That's a different question. We're going to have that mother-father talk later. Charity. We already talked about the alignment and what does that look like? And do you have alignment with charity? Do your clients know that? One thing we do, we call it ETD, every transaction donation on every transaction that we have. And remember, we're not calling it a deal or anything like that. We actually will donate and the client chooses it. The client chooses who we donate to. So after that, we just had a signing day yesterday. After that, we actually print out the form with our logo and the charity's logo, thanking them again, reminding them that this charity was supported as a result of them doing business with the Nellis Group. And then everybody just signs it and we mail it out to them. Clients love it. It's just another great touch. Now, I would be remiss to not say this. Here's what I want you to do. Look at the screen. I want you to write down at least 2 books that you have not read yet. Write down at least 2 books you have not read yet. These are all books we've read as part of our Nellis Group book club in order to be part of our real estate company. When Venus is hiring them, she lets them know, by the way, you're going to have to read a book. They're going to have to what? Yeah, that's part of our company culture. So I'll put Dale on the spot right now. Dale, is there at least 1 book you have not read that you see on this list?
Yeah, I have not read Houses. I've not read that one, and I've not read The Energy Bus.
Oh, Energy Bus is great. John Gordon, definitely get it. It talks about energy vampires. The challenge with that, Dale, is you may end up getting out of business with some people at Realvolve. Not pointing fingers, but when you realize that you have an energy vampire, you want them out. It's poison in the barrel, right? Houses is a fantastic book. I wish they still printed it at a large scale. They don't. You're going to have to try to Amazon it, figure out where they're doing it. This is great. If you're a newer agent out there, or you don't really know construction or the nuances of building a house, one of the best books you could ever read. So hopefully other of you wrote down books. Some of these might even been before you were with us that we read some of these.
I took a picture.
There you go. I love it. I love it. I will tell you this, if you're into humor and you love fun books and you don't want to read a dry one, get that No Bull Selling. No Bull Selling is probably one of the funniest real estate books I've ever read. It was written by, I'm a CRS instructor. It was written by another instructor who has passed since writing this, but it is hilarious. One of the things he says is, you know what? The amount of people that show up at your funeral will not be based on how good a friend you were. It'll be based purely on what? The weather. So pass away on a good day. Again, we talked about agent zoning.
Oh,
I know you say I'm always too honest.
James.
We talked about agent zoning, what that looks like. And we want to refocus on having that integrator. If you're not the integrator and you're a solo practitioner, use Realvolve to become your integrator until you can hire someone. If you have hired someone, leverage Realvolve to make them an even better integrator, right? And then at this stage, hopefully people are like, how do I connect with them? What does it look like? Find us on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, I guess, I don't know, Pony Express, Smoke Signals, something like that. But find us on Instagram. You can find our company at Nellis Group. You can find myself at James Nellis and Venus at Venous Jones. Venus, parting words of wisdom?
I think that we have questions, James, that we could help. answer.
See, I just want to move on to the next thing.
Right.
Got it.
Because that's
We did. Hey,
Yes.
I'm actually really proud of us, which sounds weird for me to say that, because I promised 10 minutes and we're giving you 11 minutes of Q&A. Dale.
look
How about
at
that?
you.
Boom.
Awesome. So
That's
yes,
so
let's-
perfect.
let
Worked
me-
out perfect.
Let me
So
stop. Well, I'll
Jerry
leave it up.
says, did you create your own workflows or start with
Yes.
pre-existing workflows?
No, all of our workflows we create from scratch.
I'm a control freak, and so is Venus, and that's why she was hired. However, if you sign up with Realvolve or you're already with them, we're happy to share some of ours.
I will say that the templates that Realvolve provides was a good example for us to understand the structure of what a workflow should look like and how to break the transaction apart into smaller pieces.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
Jerry
skill
also has a question about,
Sure.
she also has a question about how, do you have someone who specializes in websites to set that up? And I think that was asked when you were showing the forms around the 100th home giveaway charity event. So I know that you have a form, it's tied in with Zapier, and that means that it automatically, if anybody fills out that form, they automatically go into Realvolve. So do you have someone that specializes in website and technology, do that kind of stuff for you guys?
We do. The host of NellisGroup.com is actually Dakno, Dakno. If you want to reach out to us on IG, we can directly connect you with them, or you can reach them out. If you're already with a web provider, I'm sure they can set up something similar. So just go to NellisGroup.com/vote to see how we do it. And you can coordinate that. I'm sure Realvolve, what I love is that they're pretty agile, and no matter who you use, I'm sure they can set up some type of Zapier for something to make it connect, so that as people come in, it can automatically go into your database. See, Dale, I'm giving you extra work. How about that?
That sounds
So
about right.
Amanda says, when participating with charity and participating in events, do you take any branding material or is it strictly relationship building?
Probably need a little more clarification on that. But a question we always get is, James, if they're registering on your website, do you then proactively market to those people? And I think that might be the question. The answer is, for their donors in their database that come to our website and register, we do not proactively market to them. Now, there is Facebook retargeting. There's other things you can do without spamming them. So we never spam them. If I think that's a break in the trust or relationship with that charity, but we always want to send them back to our website or to your website. So make certain that. Here's the other thing. I'll give you another tip to this, because we were finding that charities weren't really doing it because most charities are overtaxed and underpaid. So we created the forum. We created them the actual flyer they can email and mail out. And we create the email template to send to their database. And when we did that for them, we saw votes go through the roof, because now all they had to do was copy, paste, send, right?
So let's see. Do you use any other CRM other than Realvolve?
No. Everything is within Realvolve. Yeah.
Well,
What do you
for
think?
lead
Love it.
generation, we use a different one.
Oh, you're talking about.
And-
Yes. So we do have online leads that come through Sync. However, the way that they are worked is that when we are following up with them, because everyone knows an online lead can take anywhere from 12 to 18 months to fully incubate. They do stay within Sync. However, the minute they sign an exclusive rights, they move into Realvolve. Because at that point they're considered a client, and that's how we follow up with them after that.
Yeah, I would say it goes 4 steps, right? Suspect, prospect, lead, and then client. Once it goes to that client phase, that's when it goes into Realvolve.
And we have our own, lead generator and lead manager called FirePoint too. So if you're looking for more leads and a lead incubation platform, you can reach out to us. We could tell you all about FirePoint as well. Let's see. If we're already a Realvolve member, will we see the workflows? Yeah. So if anybody wants to get access to those workflows, shoot an email to info@realvolve.com, and we'll make sure to get those for you.
Well, and you have to.
What other questions do we have?
Yeah.
If you're not
gotta
nice to Venus, then
you
you
gotta
won't
be
get
nice
it.
to
So
me.
you have to send an info, and you have to message Venus. Otherwise,
Right.
no. Or me. But if you message me, I probably won't.
He's not
follow
going to
back
read
up.
his emails until 3
Easy.
weeks
I
from
read
now.
my IGs all the time.
Oh.
Yeah, I just responded to a lead the other day.
All right.
Good. Any other questions, Dale?
I don't see any. Somebody said, "What is design date?" And I think that was your staging.
So just kind of for clarification, when we have a new client sign a listing agreement with us, we have interior designers that will go to their home, walk their home, and give them recommendations of what they should do based on whether they want to get a stager or not. So the design date is the date that interior designer is going to walk their home. So within Realvolve, there is a schedule that that design date and give it to the listing agent. And then there's a second task, which is when we get the actual report, go through the report with the client and then make a decision of, are we going to stage? Are we going to paint? Are we going to do, any of the recommendations that the designer gave us?
Yeah. And for those that have heard this and you got glossy eyed when we started talking about 52 points of this, and you have to rewrite all of this. Think through, what does your CRM do for you right now? How are you inserting it? How is it really an insertion into your business, right? And here's the challenge. Once you start doing more and more business, you can't keep it in your head. You're going to have to leverage something. It doesn't matter to us what you leverage, but you have to leverage something to get there and to get to the next level, or more importantly, just give better customer service. We even changed, one more thing that we do now is in Realvolve, the task is actually for me. One of the things we thought as we've continued to grow is, what would be fun is for every client, buyer and seller, once they got ratified, once they started to work with the Nellis Group, once they sold, to actually get a personal call from myself or from my sister, Nicole. And because we're a family business, and so we've started implementing that. And so if you're trying to get more reviews from your clients, 5-star reviews, the more interaction, the more over communication you can do, the better. So let me put Venus on the spot here. If they have no workflows,
okay,
and they're only going to do 3 workflows, what should they do?
Lead generation. So what should you be doing throughout the year to touch base with your database? How should you prepare for a listing and contract to close? And that is, if you are a solo agent and you have a transaction coordinator, you can add them to your Realvolve, even though they don't specifically work within your company. And that way you can have constant communication with them as well.
I see the new slide. So Dale, take it away.
Yeah. So if there's not any more questions, and I think we got to all of them. Yeah, it looks like that was all of the questions. So any more questions, put them in now. Speak now or forever hold your peace. And if you are ready to automate more, if you are intrigued by what you've heard today, reach out to us or go to realvolve.com/success. So Realvolve, again, it's a CRM. We have this workflow platform. There's a library of workflows that you can implement. There's lead nurture in there, some business intelligence. We're also tracking how well you do at following up with your past client database, and we can give you scores on that. We'll help you categorize all of your clients and your leads. We have a few different ways you can categorize them, and the filters, like we talked about earlier, are probably the best. It's the best categorization system that you're going to find in a real estate CRM. And we're just here to help. So we always say that no is a perfectly acceptable answer. Reach out, we'll have a conversation and try to figure out if it's a good fit for you in your business right now or not. And we are happy to share our knowledge with you, make some recommendations. And we always say, like I said, no is a perfectly acceptable answer. So thanks again, Venus and James, for joining us today. Really appreciate all of the knowledge that you shared with us. Seeing some of your workflows there on the screen was really helpful. And I know there's a lot of Realvolve customers that were reaching out during the webinar wanting to get access. So it's pretty cool to see what you guys are doing there. Any parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. Yes. Do not use your calendar for action steps that have to be taken with a client.
Amen.
What's yours?
Love it.
I mean, I think it's take the time at the very beginning to create those workflows because it will save you exponential time on the back end.
Oh, what's the fire quote about the extinguisher? What's the fire quote?
I don't know that quote. What quote are you talking about?
Fire prevention versus fires. You don't remember that one?
No.
Oh man, all kinds of pressure. So you can take your time to put out a fire, and that could take you all day. Or you can take the time for fire prevention, and that could take you 5 minutes in a workflow in Realvolve.
Oh, I'm getting that for the office. That's excellent.
Love it. Beautiful. Well, thanks again, James and Venus. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining. Reach out to us, info@realvolve.com, or go to realvolve.com/success. Start a free trial, 14 days, no credit card required. We will see you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.